Hello everybody, I'm Gwen Campbell-Mindes. Welcome to Gwen's Bookish Ramblings. So today, book 2 of the Sister Frevisse Medieval Mystery series. And this is one of my least favorites in the series because I prefer more lighthearted books. I prefer happier books. I prefer books that do not have as grim and grisly not so much grisly, but grim and really, really horrible thing. This discussion is going to be all spoilers because, well, the only way to discuss how awful this is to actually talk about it, and that means giving away who the murderer is. And the thing is that it's a very, very different experience reading the book the first time and not knowing who the murderer is and finding out at the end who it is, because I'm going to give this away at some point. I really do believe it, so you know what, I'll probably let you guys know if you want to back out at the last second or whatever, but the murderer, as we go through the book, the murderer kills several people. We don't even realize the first victim was actually a victim until the end of the book. But, yeah, we'll give it away. But the big thing is that the final victim is, it's sort of like they come screeching at the last second, hoping against hope they can save the final victim, and they can't because they just got there too late. And the person doing the killing, it's so horrible, and the book actually pulls kind of an interesting trick in order to make you think that this person couldn't possibly be the killer. The way that it's written sort of manages to duck the point, and then you get to the end of the book and the murderer is somebody who's kind of gone round the bend. Like, this is a person who genuinely believes that by killing these people, this person has done these people a favor. That, we are all leading sinful lives, and if you are properly shriven, then, you have, all of your sins have been forgiven, etc., etc. So if you get shriven right before you die, then odds are good you get to skip right past the bulk of purgatory and straight to heaven. And so this is a person who's saying, well, these people were shriven before they died, so, great. I mean, by telling you this, I've pretty much given it away anyways. But the point is, assuming you read the book, but the point is you get to the end and it's all kinds of horrible because this is somebody who really, really thinks they're doing a good thing, and that always makes it worse. When someone does something horrible that they think is helpful. And the interesting thing, the other main thing about this book is that this is an introduction to, first of all, a little bit more about Dame Frevisse in terms of talking about her background, talking about where she came from, who she is, how she wound up being a nun. And among other things, part of the point of entering a monastic life, whether as a nun or a monk or whatever, is giving up on things. You are giving up on existing in the world. You are giving up on, wealth and having sex and being able to make decisions about stuff without having to, follow someone else's orders and so on and so forth. There are things that you're giving up, but people who enter a monastic life, you give up other things that sometimes don't fall under the auspices of poverty, chastity, and obedience. One of the main things in this book is Dame Frevisse talking about the fact that when she was a child, her parents were kind of rootless wanderers. And she grew up, she describes herself as being perhaps something of an adjunct to her parents, who had sort of always loved each other, and she was kind of just there, but they did love her and they did care for her. But the other thing was that they traveled, and she has these memories of traveling, of going to Spain and seeing orchards of oranges where you could just pick an orange off a tree. She has memories of going from, London to Yorkshire and back again. She has memories of being in France, of going places and being on the road. And the thing is that if you're somebody who loves traveling, entering a monastic life, unless you wind up joining one of the more, peripatetic kinds of monastic orders, and there are some, but if you become a part of a monastic order, as, Dame Frevisse did, that she became a Benedictine nun in, a single abbey, you give up on traveling, you give up on getting to see new things every day. You enter into a life where every day is the same, where every year is the same, where it's the same cycle, the same people, the same faces, the same. And it's not just the daily cycle of prayers, it's not just the fact that you are annually reading through the Bible and through these prayer books, and it takes you through the year over and over and over again. It's, the fact that you don't get to be on the road and see what's happening in Oxford, and then see what's happening in London, and then see what's happening in Yorkshire, and you don't get to get on a boat and go to France to see what France is like, and to see what's happening in France in Normandy, and see what's happening in the south in Nice, and see what's happening in Paris. You don't get to go to Santiago de Compostela in Spain. You don't get to do that kind of thing. And this is one of those first moments that we see Dame Frevisse having a moment of actually struggling with the things that she can't do, because she is a nun and she has a calling and she has a vocation and she loves what she is and what she does. But by becoming a Benedictine nun, by entering into the kind of monastic life she has decided, it means she's given up on this other thing that was such a part of her, so fundamental, and, something that genuinely, is some of the best memories of her childhood, is travel. And when the troupe of actors arrive, the thing about players, about actors in the medieval period, is that they lead peripatetic lifestyles as well, but actors are treated little better in a general way than any other group of traveling folk. Much as, to use a now much maligned word, gypsies, the Roma are a people, they were known as gypsies, and the thing is that we in North America don't have the same tradition in relation to gypsies. For a lot of people in North America, as far as they're concerned, gypsies are kind of fictional, mostly because the only depictions that we in North America tend to get of gypsies are heavily fictionalized, cartoony ones, to the point where you say, well, those aren't real people, because real people aren't highly fictionalized, cartoony people. And when you're looking at them, people, especially when you go to something like the medieval period, where life in the medieval period had a lot of organization, had a lot of, you have to take your place in the great chain of being. If you are a villain, if you are a serf, then that is your lot in life, and you have to deal with it, and everybody has their place. But traveling folk, like the Roma gypsies, or like, in this case, players, they fall outside of the normal social bounds and nobody knows what to do with them, and that makes them suspicious. They don't owe a lord any sort of anything. They don't have a place of their own, and people fear the unknown, and they don't understand travelers. And so players are not merely suspicious, they are seen as being, completely morally bankrupt and all kinds of other things. And so when they arrive and there are murders and there are other things, they're automatically suspected just because they are players. And Dame Frevisse has a great deal of sympathy for them because she knows what mistrust there is of people on the road. And so it's something that she struggles with during this book, is how much is she trying to find out the truth in order to defend these people, and how much is she trying to find out the truth because she's trying to find out the truth. In any event, and she has this instinctive personal click with them, and we get to meet Jalif, who is one of the players, one of these actors, who eventually, he is a returning character in this series. He comes back several times, and indeed, Margaret Frazer made a brief series starring him, which I have never gotten around to reading. I keep meaning to, but I just keep forgetting. I'll get to it someday, maybe, eventually, possibly. But the point is that there's a lot of push-pull in this book in terms of Dame Frevisse and her feelings and fondness for traveling, for this connection that she has with these people, that she doesn't have with anyone else, because these people are something that she once was, that some part of her still wishes she could be again. Even once she has made her decisions in life, she's chosen to be a nun. But when you become a nun, when you become a member of a religious order, that's a thing you give up. Anyways, as we're coming in the last couple minutes, we're entering into spoilerific territory because, as I always say, this is a screw it, I don't care about spoiler zone, but I'm doing you the decency of warning you that if you don't want to hear the spoilers about, who killed them and stuff, now's the time to bail out, and I'll see you next week. But for those of you who are sticking around because you either don't care or whatever, Meg is the other main character, the other main point of view we get in this book, and that's the dirty trick that's played, because Meg is the murderer. She kills, her husband comes back and he's crippled, and after he's been shriven, she kills him. And we don't find this out until the end. We think that it was just, an accident. He was in a horrible, wreck, and he's got a crippled hand, and maybe he had internal injuries nobody noticed. But she kills him. And then she kills her son, Sim, because he's turning out like his father, and she does a thing that she was told, if they ask God for their forgiveness for their sins and so on, then it'll be fine. And so she killed him too before he could turn out like his father. And then there's this other nun who was dying of cancer, and she kills this nun, and then her last son, who she had been trying to convince to become a priest, and he didn't want to be a priest, he wanted to be an actor, and she winds up killing him too, and Frevisse gets there having figured out too late that she's the killer. And the start of the last chapter is Meg talking about how she explained to them that it was okay because they were all in heaven now, because they'd been shriven, and it would be okay. And it's horrible, and it's hard reading this book the second time, knowing that that's what's going on. This was hard to reread, actually. So I've talked right up to my time limit, so that's all I'm going to say about this one, and I will see you all next week.